Hello, friends. This is Heart to Heart with Saima. The podcast show for people searching for that courageous person within us who wants to be inspired by listening to stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. I'm Saima Dhillon, your host. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be here. Let's dive right in. Want to introduce to you my guest for this afternoon, Simon Parsons.
Hello, Saima. Thank you so much for having me. I am truly grateful to be on your show and to talk with your wonderful guests.
It's my honor, Simon, to have you. It's my honor to have all the guests that I have here. It's an hour of inspiration for me. So much that it's an opportunity for me to learn from the people who come here, from their stories as well as from their wealth of knowledge. So, Simon, I will let you introduce yourself.
My name is Simon Parsons, and I am a mindset coach. I'm also a sales rep for a Fortune 100 company. I love what I do. I love my job. I love building relationships, and it kind of led me down an interesting path. I've had a lot of fun stories throughout my life. Started in sales about 7 years ago, and I've had a successful sales career. About a year and a half ago, I started diving really deep into mindset and personal development, which is something that I've always been passionate about. But in that time, I was able to see exactly what would happen if I went all in. And so I started meditating every single day, building a really thorough morning routine that involved meditation, journaling, visualization, affirmations, cold showers, working out. And I've just been absorbing this, and seeing what would happen is almost like as if I was a person testing out to see what the results would be like. And by doing that, my business had expanded rapidly. I've always been pretty successful in my sales role, but after I started really applying a lot of mindset techniques, I saw it take off, and I added about 35% on top of my 5-year average in sales. And during that time, I realized I really enjoy coaching and helping other people learn some of these practices. So about August of last year, I organized a mindset meeting in my sales organization and started teaching some of the stuff that I've been learning. And I'm still on that learning process as well. But last year I had my best year ever. I was less stressed than I've ever been. My relationships were just amazing. My work-life balance was in check, and I have a happy and supportive family. So everything has been amazing. I started teaching within the organization, and then this year I started coaching externally, and it's something that calls me, and I'm so passionate about these topics.
Simon, how did you get into coaching?
Well, I used to listen to Tony Robbins when I was younger. I was in my 20s. Now I'm 46 years old. So I've been on this journey for a while, and I've faded in and out of that journey. I fell away from personal development for about 15 years. And about a year and a half ago, I just started reading more books, listening to podcasts. I'm sure some of your listeners can relate to that because they're listening to you right now, bringing on people who have made some significant changes in their life. So I was just doing the same thing myself. And I found a very prominent podcaster that I became pretty close with and started coaching with him. Spent about 6 months, and he was able to give me a lot of amazing knowledge about coaching, and it just kind of fell in my lap. I wasn't planning on doing this, but I basically wanted to share some of my knowledge with some of my coworkers, and it became a fun thing to do. And then later on, I decided I wanted to take it to another level and do some external coaching outside of my sales organization.
It's so important in life, right? Until we actually start doing something that we are passionate about, something which touches our heart, it seems like internally we are always seeking and we are searching, and we are trying to find that that one thing which would take us on that path where we would find solace and contentment and that peace.
Absolutely. I think it's a shame though, because some people just go through life going, living day to day and, just getting from one day to the next without really taking the time to observe and to ask the right questions and to find out what really truly calls them. And I think that's one thing that inspires me, is to help people maybe ask some of those deeper questions and have the courage to chase after that. I mean, we only live once, and I want to make the most of that. I do not want to get to the end of my life and realize that I could have given more, or I didn't try something that was calling out to me. So like I mentioned in my intro, I want to be kind of like a test subject and share what I've done. And hope, I'm not saying that I have all the answers and all the solutions, but you mentioned ordinary people doing very amazing things,
Extraordinary thing.
extraordinary things. And I think that fits me to a T. I remember when I was in high school walking down the road to high school. And I mean, I didn't have a bad childhood by any means, but I just thought I would have a very ordinary life. I thought I was
Yeah.
going to be very average. I
Yeah.
didn't expect a lot as far as income or relationships or what I was doing for a job. I honestly thought I might be in some type of a manufacturing job, or just doing something that just to get by and living, just existing from day to day. And little things came into play and took me in a whole different path. And so that story really resonates with me, Saima. I love the idea of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And I think that's been my path. And I want to share that and help people, tap into that if they want to. I don't want to try and force people or talk people into things, but if I can be somewhat of a lighthouse and share what I've done, and hopefully that resonates with some people. And so far it has. And I
Yeah.
like telling that story.
And I think that's what it is, right? And in fact, we will dive into one of the things that you do talk about, law of attraction. And I think that's what I've been noticing is that, and that's actually literally what I manifest as well. For people who are like-minded, for people who are willing to give life their best shot and not just do things just because that's what we have been brainwashed into doing. We spend our childhood being a product or becoming a product of our circumstances and our surroundings, right? And
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and then you cultivate yourself and you grow up, you start growing, and then you change your surroundings, and then you reach a point where it hits you and you're like, where am I in life, right? What happened?
Absolutely.
I don't think that
Absolutely.
this is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, the environment that we're in, this affects our belief system. I mean, we one of the stories that I wanted to share with you is, I told you that I had a very ordinary childhood, and I ended up getting a job as a busboy at the Salt Lake Country Club, which was a remarkable experience for me. Some of the wealthiest and most successful people in Salt Lake, or in Utah, it's a quite an amazing community of people. And I always thought it was like us and them. There's the average people, and there's these high performing, wealthy people. And what I realized is that so many of them are just as down to earth as you and I, just as down to earth as any of us. And they have somehow gotten out of the bondage of those limiting beliefs, or maybe they never had them in the first place because of their environment. But it's not like they're different people or created differently. They were just in a different environment where some of those beliefs that usually hold us back aren't necessarily around them or in their families, or they've developed a way to get out of that. And that's something that I'm very passionate about, is helping people see that limiting beliefs are learned. We learn those on our own or from other people. They're taught to us, or we pick them up, or we create them just based on the stimulus of our environment. And so, like you said, going back to the law of attraction, surrounding yourself with the best possible people you can, people who are positive, people who want to do better,
Yeah.
your belief system will change because of that. And if your belief system changes, then you're likely to take different actions, right?
Yes, absolutely. Because whatever it is that's been ingrained in us that makes us feel a certain way or believe in certain things, I feel it is so important to surround yourself, just like you said, with with the kind of people who have aspirations, who are inspiring, who believe in themselves and who believe in others, right?
Absolutely. I love that. It's so true. And if you think about this, Saima, like when we're children, we're not afraid to say that we want to be an astronaut or a doctor or a scientist, right? It's only later in life where we start telling ourselves a story that we can't do that. And there's some untangling that needs to be done. But when when you're a child, you know what you want and you're not afraid to say it or chase after that. You're not afraid to wear different clothes, stuff that doesn't match. I was watching my little girl in my garage the other day. It's a sunny, beautiful, warm day, and she's got a beanie on and some purple rain boots on and some shorts. And I just love that because I'm looking at her and she just doesn't care. She wouldn't care what other people think. And I don't care either. And I was just thinking, children are so beautiful.
Yeah.
But throughout life, we have these forces that push on us, whether that's, from our parents or from society or people at school or people that we've dated, the advertising, right? Like things telling us who we should be and what we should look like. And these forces start pushing on us throughout our life. And next thing you know, we're out of alignment of where we should be and where we are. And I feel like that chasm right there, that's what causes a lot of emotional suffering. It's simple. It's just we're not being who we really want to be. It causes anxiety and stress and self-doubt. But if we can get back into alignment, and some of us do later in life, but how can we shorten that path down? How can we true that up a little bit earlier in life? What can we do to help people see that they're getting pushed out of alignment?
Why do you think that happens?
That people get pushed out of alignment, or that they believe? I think when you're younger, it's just a misperception, right? Like obviously you see the world a little bit differently than it actually is. Mm-hmm. And an example that I've heard is, a parent taking their kid to school, and your kid has a best friend, and your kid's best friend can read, but your child can't. And you're excited to hear your child's friend, name off the signs and read things that they're seeing on the street. And so you're like, good job, Tommy, good job. You're doing so good. And then that child, all of a sudden, that simple thing can create a void. And they start wondering, well, what's wrong with me? Why do they love Tommy more than me? It's not that's not actually happening. But when you're a kid, you don't know any better. And there's so many examples of that. Go ahead.
Sorry, Simon. I was just saying, so you think it's comparison when parents start comparing their own children to other people's children or even siblings, right?
I think it could be a lot of things. That particular circumstance that I mentioned is just one of many. I mean, there's countless circumstances, but I don't think in a lot of cases parents are meaning to do that. Yeah. But it's the child's perception. Just because the child, they just want to be loved, and they need a lot of attention. And sometimes even when you're not trying to, that attention can cause, a little bit of self-doubt. And I think, Simon, one of the craziest things is most limiting beliefs boil down to some form of I'm not enough. Yeah. So in that circumstance, the child is not perceiving it. The parent obviously loves them, but they're perceiving it like they're not being loved and that the friend Tommy's being loved more, just because they're so young and they don't understand that. And so just that simple thing can plant a seed of doubt in a child's mind, and that they're not enough.
Grows, right? It keeps growing. And then, right?
Or if, how many times in school you don't fit in with the right crowd, someone makes fun of you and you feel like you're not enough.
Yeah.
I remember wearing a neon pink shirt to school when I was in 7th grade, and one of the popular kids was making fun of me and saying that it needed a battery, which is actually kind of a funny joke. But for so long, I was just like, that gripped into me, and I felt so judged, and I felt so much like I wasn't enough. And now it's fun because I can look back at that and I can laugh about the situation. But when you're in it, it's hard to, hard to see why you feel that way, or, you might not even recognize it. A lot of people don't know.
That's what people do, right? I mean, people that people judge.
Yeah.
People judge you for your clothes, for your way of thinking, for people judge you for multiple things: the cars you're driving, the home that you live in, right? A to Z, you're being judged. And I think that that is like the biggest culprit of 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 you basing your life off what other people or what you even perceive at times, because right, I mean, I'm going to perceive what is being said based on my perception. It might,
Yeah,
it's not necessary that that's what the other person was saying.
exactly. I mean, we think so much about what other people are thinking about us. And here's the thing, Simon, is limiting beliefs are, everybody has them. It doesn't matter how big of a thinker you are. Everybody has some level where they have limitations.
Yes.
We're truly limitless, but I mean, a lot of us are really holding ourselves back so far. And you're right. Like, we get these expectations placed on us. Sometimes they're not even being placed, but we think they are. And it's so funny because you and I were talking before we started the live cast about how, we want to step out, like how we've got to have courage to step out and say what we really want to say. And it's funny for me, for a long time, I was afraid to say what. A year ago, it might have been hard for me to get on this call with you and talk about some of these things. I'd be worrying about what people are thinking about me. I don't really care anymore, but there was a time where I did, and I'm a pretty confident person. And you have that voice, and it says, what is that person that that you don't even care about? What is that person going to think about you? Like, I might be worrying about that kid that made fun of me and like junior high about my t-shirt, hearing me and thinking, oh, Simon's stupid, he's all into this like woo-woo stuff. Like, now I really don't care. But a year ago, like, I didn't even realize I had that voice. And that's just a voice. I mean, there's a scientific part of that too. It's a part of your brain called the amygdala, and it's designed to keep you safe, and it's designed to keep you away from danger. And we don't have the same dangers that we had when we were a prehistoric man, right? Like, back then we had to worry about being eaten for a lion, or finding food, or keeping warm, or finding a tribe. But now the threat is what somebody's going to think about us. So we have this, we're being held back by our brain, which is trying to do its job. And I actually am, now that I can see it, it's like I can be thankful for it and lean into it. But, I still have that voice in me. And there's so many people that they're constrained by that, right? They're afraid to be who they are and get back into alignment. And sometimes you don't recognize that. Sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't.
So, just from a different perspective, because obviously I'm used to having these conversations with my girlfriends, and even as a man, you have gone through like the same feelings of being judged, and then growing into, like you literally said that as of like literally last year, you felt that you didn't have the confidence to to go out and to just express yourself and to just be who you are. So it's like, irrespective of the gender, everyone is fighting battles that no one knows about.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you one thing too that's very freeing too, is males have a harder time. Like, maybe that's why you don't hear about it. I think males, they want to be strong. They want to be alpha. They want to be the tough guy. So it's maybe a little bit harder to talk about that. But of course, we have limiting beliefs in different ways. And I think, regardless of gender, you have a little bit of both in you. Like, I'm not afraid to say that there's a feminine part of me that is a softer side that cares. I don't think there's a lot of males that will say that like openly on the internet in front of everybody. I'm happy to, but that's something that I wouldn't have said a year ago. And it's almost like a reflex too. You just don't do it. Like, you want to say something and you're afraid to post. Like, I think social media is beautiful. A lot of people talk about how much harm it does because people are, comparing themselves with this doctored version of somebody else. I think it goes both ways, though. I think social media is a perfect way for someone who wants to step into their higher self and be a little bit more confident. And you don't have to go all in, but find out what you're a little bit uncomfortable saying and ask yourself, why am I uncomfortable saying that? And then step into it. But yeah, a year ago, it might have been a little bit longer than that, but I definitely had a message. I definitely wanted to share some of the stuff that's passionate to me, but I remember being afraid of doing that. And then stepping into it. And now I'll say pretty much anything. And it feels so good. I feel like there was
You're
chains
liberated.
back. Yes, and those chains have just come off. And part of the reason why I like to talk about this stuff is I'm sure a lot of your guests probably have that same feeling, right? And some of them are ready to take off some of those chains. And
they're
some
shackles
people
holding you back.
yeah, and some people don't want to say it, which is okay. I mean, it's an evolution, and I'm just saying that there's so much power in being able to walk into that, right? And social media is giving people a voice, right? And as soon as people start trying that, they'll realize how people resonate with people who are authentic, right? So we can now come here and be a lot more authentic and show the real us. But then also it's good for development too. I think it's a great way where you can express yourself and challenge yourself and do something that's a little bit uncomfortable.
And Simon, I think life is challenging for everyone. I feel life is like Hunger Games. You know, it's like, okay, what's waiting around the corner? What's, what's next? So there's something or the other which is just waiting to challenge you every step of the way, and it takes courage because you're continuously healing. And if in order for you to heal, I feel that you need to find courage, and courage comes when you're ready to accept change and you're ready to embrace change. So that
Absolutely. You just gave me goosebumps, Simon. I don't know if you can see them, but you gave me goosebumps by what you just said. And I don't know, I'm going to point this out to you because you might not have noticed, but a lot of people say life is hard. You said life is challenging. There's a big difference between hard and challenging. And I just love that you said that, because if we live up to a challenge, what does that create? If life is hard, I don't want to do hard things, but I do want to do challenging things. I do want to grow from it. So I love that you said that, which means that's kind of wired into your nature, is that you look at life
is.
as a challenge and not
Absolutely.
hard. Your paradigm isn't that life is hard. Your paradigm is that you're here to grow and learn. I
I
love that you said that.
I'm ready to grow. I have a plan for December 31st. I have a plan for 21 and 22. And so I have a vision, and I'm working on it, working on executing it. And so yeah, I'm excited. I've just come to this point where I'm ready to accept change. Change has become fun.
Yes, yes. And I think another thing that you said too was you have to have courage.
Yes.
When you have courage and you walk into that, you build confidence, right? Like, you know that you're going to be okay.
Yes.
Takes a little bit of courage to walk into some of the things that we do, but once you do that, you realize you're going to be okay. Our amygdala that I talked about, it creates stories. That's what I believe limiting beliefs are. Is they're stories that your mind makes up, like to give you the easy way out, to keep you in a safe zone. So it's so important to listen to those. And if you say them out loud, a lot of times there's not a whole lot of substance to them. You know, like, I can't do this because of I'm too old or I'm not smart enough. And once you say that out loud, like, you realize it's BS. You realize, I mean, very few times it actually will.
Nothing
right?
matters, right?
Yeah, and then you have the courage. Once you have the courage to step into that and realize that that was all a story, and you start succeeding or even failing, it gives you confidence. And then when that confidence starts growing and you build momentum, then you're more likely to do it over and over. I like to think about training my mind to just step into discomfort, because to me, it's almost like a thrill seeker for me. Like, you know, the people that do they jump out of planes or bungee jump, they get a rush from that. Like, I actually feel like I'm trying to wire my brain to look at stepping into uncomfortable situations and limiting beliefs. It gives me that same excitement and thrill.
So you know what I did, Simon? A couple of years back, I took my daughters to Queenstown, New Zealand, And before we were leaving, I told them that you're going to the place where bungee jumping was invented. So this is an
Wow.
opportunity of a lifetime. If you guys want to go do bungee jumping, I'm giving you, these few months to think about it. And once you make a decision, then don't back out. But if you do back out, then just remember this is where it was invented. It's once in a lifetime. So, but then we did arrive in Queenstown, and I was like, once I make the payment, then you can't back out. I have to tell you that I don't have the courage to do it, but if you girls have the courage to do it, then, so they actually did. And my younger one, who was, I think, 13 at that time, she actually did. And when she just went there, and the instructor told her, okay, you know what, if you look back, you will not be able to jump. So she just went out there and she just jumped. And I think when she was kind of close to, she did her first bounce, she actually fainted. Um, but, I think it's just one of those things. Once you have done the most difficult thing in your life, then you're free.
Absolutely.
There's no going back then.
And also, I like what you said too, is, just go and do it, like, before you have time to really think about it too much. Make your decision and just go. There's a book from Mel Robbins called The 5-Second Rule that talks about, like, when you have a decision where you're like nervous about it, just like count to 5 and then just go with whatever your gut feels.
Just
Because
breathe. Just do
yeah,
it.
if you wait too long, your mind will create an excuse or create a
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the real power, though, Saima, is understanding like how your brain works.
Yeah.
And when you know that that's the pattern, that's so powerful, because then, when I call it the voice, and I even have a name for mine. And when I hear the voice, I'm like, oh, hey, Stan, thanks for talking to me. I appreciate you letting me know that you're worried about this, but we got this. And it's like, I almost like make it into like a comedy. And but right there, I can tell when it's happening,
Yeah.
because we talk so much about being present. We talk so much about being mindful. And the whole reason is so that we can understand that these things happen when you're just walking through life, and you have that voice, and you don't really even realize that that's the voice. You just think that that's how life is.
Yeah.
No, that's just your brain trying to keep you where things are a little bit more comfortable, where it doesn't perceive it as a threat. And so once you have that power of stepping out of the jar and reading the label, and knowing how your brain works, or even knowing about human behaviors, or there's so much power in that, and you can actually leverage that to your advantage.
And you can change your trajectory. You can change your destiny. You can change your life, because you can change the wiring of your brain.
Absolutely. It's called neuroplasticity. I'm a big fan of learning about the brain. But like you said, one small change can change.
Yeah.
Like if you're flying a plane and you're in Los Angeles and you're going to New York, early on, if you just turn that a few degrees, you could be ending up in Georgia or Florida just with a few degrees of change, because that distance starts to grow further and further. So it doesn't take a whole lot of change, especially if you've got time. Little tiny incremental changes can create massive results if you're consistent and you're willing to stay with it.
Absolutely. I just shared my daughter's story with you. And I myself am, I don't have that kind of courage. So I don't stop my girls from whatever it is that, I put everything in front of them, and then it's their decision. But for myself, one of the things I have on my bucket list is going skydiving in Dubai. They have the palm, and you skydive, and I love to travel, so that's why I have a major traveling bug. So my reason for doing that is that once I get on that plane, they will make sure you jump. Because if it's left to me, I know that I will not have that final courage to take that leap of faith. But if I'm tied to someone, then I will have no choice. I'll close my eyes and they'll make me jump.
Oh, I love it. That's awesome. Good for you. Very brave.
So, because that's right, you understand the conditioning of your brain. And as long as you're ready to understand that these are the things, this is the conditioning of your brain, change it.
Absolutely. So I have a question for you. You mentioned the law of attraction. Tell me what the law of attraction means to you, and what are your associations with the law of attraction? How do you use that in your life, and how do you interpret it?
For me, law of attraction is based on my energy and based on what is within me, even perhaps my mind. And I don't know a whole lot about it, and that's why I want you to share with us your thoughts on it, because I do feel that it's like right now, I'm there, and I'm wanting to put good out there, to spread, touch lives wherever possible. And I feel that that law of attraction is attracting like-minded people, bringing like-minded people into my life who are opening different doors and different channels for me. So I think that's just kind of very mildly put.
I love it. It's an interesting topic. I think you probably saw that movie, The Secret, which is what kind of helped a lot of people learn about the law of attraction. Did you ever see that show or the book?
No.
It was a a very popular book and show.
Yeah.
I personally it didn't resonate with me very much because it seemed a little bit more mystical. I've got a very analytical mind, but the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because I think there's room for everybody to be able to tap into this and use it. I think that movie kind of created the impression for a lot of people that you just sit around and hope you're going to get checks in the mail, or hope your Ferrari shows up on your doorstep. JP Sears, the comedian, did a hysterical reel about the law of attraction that was kind of pointing that out. And I think some of the more serious personal development gurus bring this up a lot, because I think a lot of people were left deflated. They would try to just manifest things without the work component or the belief component. And me being an analytical minded person, it did kind of turn me off a little bit when I'd see that movie and that book get so popular, because I was like, oh man, I just don't believe in it. But I do believe in hard work, and I do believe in believing in myself, because that's what creates the actions that you need to. And I do believe in being extremely clear about what it is I want and who I surround myself. Now, backing up on that, I think now that I've experienced manifesting so many amazing things in my life, there's no doubt that I believe that there's more to it than just action. There's also a spiritual component to it. You mentioned a frequency, and I have to tell you, my mind has been changed. I can't explain it, and nor do I want to, and I don't want to be critical of it either. I just accept. I believe that the law of attraction works. I'm not going to go down too deep on one side or the other, like the science side or the mystical side. I just have seen it work so many times in my life. And I believe the universe conspires to work with you and to get you what you want. But you've got to believe, you've got to take action too.
Yeah.
And you've got to be willing to accept. You've got to be willing to be a good receiver. And that means not doubting it. But more scientifically speaking, I mean, I think there's also a statistical component, right? I like to think about a big ocean full of fish, right? Whether there's 50,000 fish or 50 million fish in the sea, the hungriest shark's going to find those. And if you're hanging out with the hungriest sharks, you're going to be where you need to be. So if you're surrounding yourself with the right people, it's more likely that those opportunities will be in your proximity, right? I think that you put yourself in the path of success. You put yourself in front of opportunities. So it may not be this mystical force thing, but you are putting yourself like in a good position just through statistics, right?
But I think that's also, doesn't law of attraction come in there? Because in order for you to be surrounded by those people, if that's what your intention is, that's what you're manifesting, then that's where you law of attraction will attract those people who open different doors. Like my guest who was here last week, and he has opened up this this financial company which has its profit side and its non-profit side. And on the non-profit side, I mean, I didn't know this person, but I've been doing my live broadcasts, and he happened to watch one of them, and he contacted me, and I brought him on my show to share his story. So that's exactly what he was talking about as well, law of attraction, that, when you put something out there, when you want something bad enough, the universe conspires to make it happen for you. Law of attraction and manifestation, and some of those things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a vibrational frequency of certain emotions.
Yeah.
So joy, love, passion, enlightenment are very, very high frequency emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that when you live in those states, you tend to vibe with other people that do. I can't tell you how many people have come into my life recently where I am like, I cannot believe I'm having this conversation with this person.
Yeah.
And I think by nature, even without, I guess what I'm saying is don't overthink it like I used to. I'm a very, very analytical person, and I think that it would serve you to not, if you doubt in the law of attraction, it would really serve you to just kind of let go of some of those judgments, because it definitely isn't going to work if you're not, if that's your expectation. But
Absolutely.
let go of some of those judgments and just try to vibrate on a higher frequency, meaning living in a higher state, living with more joy, with more passion, enthusiasm, enlightenment.
Spirituality. It's connected to spirituality as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that just resonates, and you start attracting people, and you've got to go get it too. Like a lot of times people wait around too much. Like I love that you messaged me. I can tell you go out and get whatever you want. Like people, the law of attraction doesn't work as well if you're just sitting around waiting for things to fall in your lap, right?
I do. I literally knock doors.
Well, think about how your life changes because of that. That's a huge component too. I did an experiment with my boy, and we would go for a bike ride around our neighborhood. And I told that we'd see maybe 10 to 12 people on our bike ride. And one night I would say, make sure everyone you see, wave at them and smile and say hi. And then the next night, don't do it unless they do it to you. And on the night where we didn't initiate that, maybe 20% of the people would smile and wave or say hi to us. But when we initiate, almost every single person does. So the lesson in that is don't wait.
Yeah.
Go put yourself out there, right?
Yeah. I mean, my logic is, at the most, someone will say no, or they won't respond. And at that point, you know what? The world's population is 7.5 billion, and or over 7 billion. And there's no shortage of people out there. If I knock on someone's door and if someone doesn't respond or reciprocate, then that's okay. You know what? You keep trying. You're going to get there wherever you're, whatever you're. Well, I shouldn't even say destination, because I don't think life is about a destiny. It's the journey. So.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah, I think you just summarized an abundance mindset, which is another favorite topic of mine, but also the journey too. Embracing the journey. If you can make the journey the reward rather than the destination, I mean, there's so much power in that. And that's why people get on that hamster wheel. It's never enough money or never enough love, or because they make it external. But when your trophy is the person that you are becoming along the way, there's so much power in that.
There is. And Simon, I mean, really, I'm just loving my journey. I'm meeting amazing people. And I have to tell you that prior to COVID and being in real estate is a very difficult business to be in. People don't understand, but and I think you will understand because you're in sales and real estate is sales. It is a very difficult business to be in. The highs and the lows and the people that you deal with and the things that you have to deal with. But what COVID did was actually prior to COVID, I wasn't extremely social. I mean, people will not agree because they think I'm very social, but I wasn't very social. But what COVID did was it created an appreciation for relationships. It created an appreciation for interaction, for human connection. And now the kind of people that I'm meeting, it's just a different exposure. People who are coming into my life, they enrich my life. This hour that we spend, I feel that, it's my life which is being enriched. And it's not me giving to someone, but it's what others are doing for me.
Absolutely. Well, I think you are adding a lot of value, and you're not on here trying to sell real estate. You're putting out you and your authentic self and showing people what's possible. So it's a give and take. You're giving a lot of people, a very rewarding experience, and you're benefiting from that as well because it's forging an even more amazing person than you already are. So I love that.
It's just enjoyment. It's just appreciation, gratitude, just loving the journey. It's just fun, lots of
Mhm.
fun.
Absolutely.
So, Simon, tell me, how does neuroscience come into play with all of this?
So neuroscience is what's interesting is every feeling that you have, like if you have an emotion, that's actually a chemical reaction in your body. And that's what's very interesting because you have a thought and you have a corresponding emotion or feeling, which is actually like a chemical reaction going on inside of you. And when you start to understand that, you can be a little bit more aware of what is already being wired in you and how to change that. And that's what a pattern is, right? Like that's what our habits and patterns are, is we're actually literally wiring our neurons together, and they get closer and closer, and they speak to each other with neurochemicals and neuromodulators. And I'll give you an example of that. When you experience fear or you experience stress, say that you know someone who lives in a perpetual state of stress. A lot of us are in that situation. Like a lot of people think that stress is a good way to be because it means you're really busy, right? So when you're stressed out, your body, the thoughts of I don't have enough time or I don't have enough money, the thoughts of lack, they create a feeling inside of you, which is anxiety and stress. Well, what's actually happening on a neurochemical level is that's dropping um, stress chemicals into your body, like cortisol and adrenaline, right? Like when you're really stressed out, you're feeling adrenaline. When you're semi-stressed and it's a low grade type of a stress, that's just a constant drip of cortisol. And you usually get cortisol when you wake up in the morning. It kind of gives you that kick and gets you going. And where it becomes a problem is if you are living in that state most of the time, because those neurons start they start getting used to that and wiring together. And when they become used to that, it's almost like they're being addicted to a drug, a chemical, which is cortisol. And when you are constantly craving that, your mind will create situations that align with that, right? So people that are always short on money, they're always stressed out when they see their paycheck. They don't want to check their bank account because it creates stress and anxiety. So internally, that's releasing these chemicals in your body, and you have such an addiction to them that why wouldn't your mind, your subconscious, find a way to get more of that? So
So
what's
your
it going
brain
to do?
sabotages you, right?
What's that?
your brain starts to sabotage you because you're so used to being in that stressful state, being stressed
Bingo.
all the time.
Right. Like, so if you're addicted to stress, you're addicted to cortisol. And if you're not getting that, your mind will find a way to create a circumstance to give you more. And the patterns that are most familiar are what it's going to serve up. So a lot of people have a hard time saving money. They seem to spend every last bit of money they have, no matter how much their income increases, right? I believe that that's because they've lived in that state for so long that their mind will find things to spend it on. Or if it's time or love, same thing. Your mind will find a way to create the reality. It'll put you in situations that you're not fully aware of. Because only maybe like 2 to 5% of our brain is our brain power spent on conscious thinking, but most of that's subconscious. Like it's on autopilot, just like your computer. There's programs running in the background. So if you're addicted to stress, then why wouldn't your subconscious find ways to keep you in that state? Now, if you think about people who are addicted to drama, do you notice that a lot of people who are addicted to drama seem to find themselves in circumstances or create relationships with other people that have a lot of drama in their lives, and they're perpetually living in that? And it's because they're not aware that their subconscious is attracted to that and creating that for the new neurochemical fix that it needs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's just like if you are whatever environment you are, it creates more of what you're putting out there.
Right. Now, here's what's fascinating is it works the other way around too. So there's hormones, oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, that you can actually learn to utilize to your advantage. And that's what I try to do, like when I'm wiring myself to a certain pattern. I'm trying to associate that to a neurochemical reaction in my body. And I'll give you an example of that. So people who do extreme sports or like endurance sports, the Navy SEALs, military, they are very good at creating what I call internal rewards, which is a little hit of dopamine. So dopamine is the reward chemical. And a lot of times people hear about it in the context of drugs like cocaine, because it releases that. It's not the drug that's in your system that creates the dopamine. It just triggers it. The dopamine's already in your body. So you can actually create that on your own in small doses. And you and I talked about the journey, right? The journey, it being more important than the reward at the end.
Mm-hmm.
That's dopamine. So like when you can become addicted to small micro wins, like if you're a Navy SEAL or a marathon runner, if you can get to mile 10 and then literally pat yourself on the back and say, I made it to mile 10, I can go another 5. And then when you get there, go another 5 and go another 5. But if you can make those micro wins,
Yeah.
and you can celebrate that and take a moment and be present. We all talk about how amazing it is to be present and mindful. But if you can be super intentional about that and celebrate your micro wins, figure out what are the milestones along the journey of whatever path, whether it's physical or a project you're working on. But when you get to like a milestone, like celebrate that. Give yourself the grace. And what happens in your mind is it triggers a little bit of dopamine.
Yeah.
Now, this is interesting too, because dopamine actually pushes back cortisol. So when you're stressed out, that's why it feels so good to take action. When you take action, your mind creates dopamine and it pushes back that cortisol. So once you're aware, I mean, this is kind of deep stuff, but like for me, it's like, I want to wire my brain for success, right?
Yeah.
And to keep going.
And before we started our show, I was sharing with you my guest who's coming here on Friday, and I literally put that post on Facebook expressing this young boy and his and his journey from where he didn't have money to even pay for the school, for his dance school, and how he has ended up in the ballet school in London. I spoke to him yesterday, morning. I called him and we spoke, and I was just sitting there and I was just smiling and watching, because there was just this energy coming out from him of just utter joy and being on top of the world, actually. And it was just such an infectious energy coming from him. And right there, for me, that was just such a big high, you know.
Yeah, that is what you're talking. Like you're probably releasing some serotonin when that was going on, which is kind of the love and joy hormone. And I create that when I meditate. Like you just said it gave you a high. Like I can get myself naturally high through meditation, because it's such a great way to kick off your day. Like I
Yeah.
can get to such a deep meditative state where I can literally feel serotonin dropping into my body. And what an amazing way to start your day out, right? Like that's why I put it at the beginning of my day, because in the very beginning, I'm starting it off thinking about love and joy,
Yeah.
and then feeling it. When you feel it, that's when you're experiencing the actual chemical release in your body. And why can't you get addicted to? I believe you can, because I believe I am. I
Yeah.
believe I'm addicted to those positive emotions and feelings, which are actually chemical reactions in your body. And so
Wow.
that perpetually keeps growing, right?
Yeah.
Think
It-
about the gurus, like some of the guys like that do a lot of meditating. Deepak Chopra, right? Like when you hear about those gurus, they are so happy, right? Because they're living in that state all the time. They
it's
meditate so much and are
Yeah.
so clear, and they're kicking out the garbage, right? Like your mind starts spooling up if you're not taking that time to meditate or give your mind that decompression. It just keeps backing up. It's like a computer running too hot. But with those guys who get into the real deep meditation, I mean, they are in a perpetual state of bliss. They're living in happiness. And we can all, like in the Western world, it's okay for us to chase and want to be successful and create income, and that be in alignment with spirituality too.
How do you get to that state?
Into an alignment with spirituality
Yeah.
and more material things.
No, not material things, into that state where everything is just continuous joy and you are attracting joy and love and, you know, just that positive energy and that positive feeling.
I think meditation is the quickest path to get there. I mean,
Yeah.
there's other ways. There's a lot of research going on with like flow state and theta state, different mental bandwidth states. Like there's people who operate at very high frequency, like the downhill skiers and extreme sports athletes. They're so focused, and that brain state is called a gamma state, which brings a lot of bliss along with it. That's like when you're doing something that you love so much,
Yeah.
and you're so focused that you lose track of time. Like you are so zoned in. The opposite of that is theta state, where you're almost in a dream state. You're not quite asleep. And gamma and theta states are like brain waves that really lead to that bliss and to that happiness and triggering those emotions. But you've got to work at it. You've got to find things that, on one end, you've got to find things that you're so passionate about that you completely lose yourself. And sometimes you might not know what that is. So it's the exploration, right?
Yeah.
But on the other end of it, like meditation, if people truly spend time, we live in a society where we're so rushed, we're
Yeah.
so busy, and nobody has enough time to take care of themselves, which is crazy if you ask me.
Yeah.
Start with 5 minutes. I do 30 minutes, 40 minutes a day, every single day, because that's how powerful it is. And it gives like I can live in that state of bliss. And if I'm there, and if what I told you is true, that your emotions are actually chemicals going on, a chemical reaction in your body, I am wiring myself to be addicted to that. So my subconscious, just like someone who's addicted to drama, mine will create states of happiness. And it'll
Yeah.
create situations where I am totally tuned into gratitude, into
Yeah.
enlightenment, joy, peace, courage, confidence, right?
Yes, absolutely. For me, literally, this 1 hour that I spend with my guest, I'm not hurried, I'm not stressed. It's just, it's pure joy, it's a pleasure. Learning from people who are enriching my life, and it's the feeling is like I'm completely in the moment, just thoroughly enjoying myself in the conversation.
Now, I want to drop something off onto you too. So, does what happens in reality actually even matter if you can feel those states at any time? So, for example, if you feel abundant and wealthy, does it even matter how much money you have in your bank account? If you always feel like you have enough time, does it
Yes.
matter how much time there actually is? If you feel loved, if you love yourself so much and you feel that emotion, does it matter if there's actually someone out there that's loving you?
I,
No.
no, because I think your fulfillment is coming from within you.
Exactly. And you're feeling it.
Yeah.
So the amount of whatever's there in the external world is almost irrelevant. I can't say it's completely irrelevant, but if you feel like you're lacking in time, what does it matter? Everybody has the same hours in the day, but if you're always feeling rushed, that's what you're experiencing. You're experiencing a lack of time, regardless of how much actual time there is. So, one thing I would challenge people to do is try living in the feelings more. That is so important. When you're visualizing or meditating or just living life, slow down, experience what you want. Think, what would it feel like if you're not there? Ask yourself, what would it feel like if I was completely abundant? What would it feel like if I completely loved myself? What would it feel like if I wasn't stressed for time? And then marinate in that until that becomes your perpetual state.
Because I think people just keep waiting, right? That I once I attain this, or once I buy this, or once I drive this, or once I get that house, or a certain something which is not there in the moment, right? Once this happens, that's when I will be happy.
That's yeah. If and when are very bad words to use because it means you're waiting on something else to happen. Be happy now, and that's a perfect example of what you talked about. Like I want to make $1 million, and you get there and you're not happy, and you need to now I need to make 5 million. Now I need to make 10 million,
Yeah.
but you're
It's
never happy in the first place. So
right.
really, the feeling that corresponds with that is a lack feeling. So
Yeah.
that is a perfect example that proves that it's not the money, it's the feeling. So
Yeah.
you can have as much money as you want, and if you feel like it's not enough, that's what your reality is. On the other hand, there's people that I visited down the Amazon forest who have nothing and are living so happy and have such rich relationships. And we have way more money. It doesn't matter how much money you have here, it's a million times more than a lot of the people I met down there, but they are infinitely happier too because that's not their source. They're experiencing happiness and not tying it to money.
Well, I think right there, as always, right? Time just flies, and time flew by, and we just have a minute. So, Simon, I'm going to let you give you a moment to share what you do, where people can connect with you. Just it's your moment to pitch yourself or whatever you would like to do. So here goes.
Thank you, my friends. I appreciate you tuning in. So I'm most prominent on LinkedIn. Simon Parsons. I think my handle is Simon W. Parsons 1. Please feel free to reach out to me and connect with me on LinkedIn. I post a lot of content that I'm sure you'll find value in. I seek to inspire and I seek to level up, and I'm always looking for other people to hold me accountable and live life on a big level. Take care, my friends.
Simon, thank you for being on my show. It was my honor to have you here, and thank you so much for being here. And on that note, hold on. Okay. So on that note, once again, Thank you all so much for taking the time out to hear what was shared on today's podcast. Don't forget to text me at 214-380-3647. Also, if you found it helpful, then please share my show with someone else. Just simply share with them the link or post it on your Facebook wall and ask people to check it out. I would be so grateful to you. Help me touch lives. Also, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. So every podcast gets sent straight to you and you don't have to go searching for it. See you see you on Friday on Heart to Heart with Saima. Stay cool and thank you for watching. So here goes.
Wow, you nailed that.